So rather than it focusing on, we got to get every student in our community colleges trained on the most recent, most expensive unit, we need them to have some underlying ability to think about these problems. I'm Lily Fitzgerald. I am the director of the Center for Advanced Manufacturing at MassTech. We are a state economic development agency for Massachusetts. We invest public dollars into manufacturing in the state. So we have all kinds of grants and support and ecosystem development that we do to foster the really strong manufacturing industry here in Massachusetts. We have a couple of different mechanisms for manufacturers to get support through MassTech in Massachusetts to scale their operations, to improve their processes, to automate, to digitize. We have a couple different capital equipment grants. We have one that's a $200,000 grant called MMAP. We hear all the time, it's the easiest grant a manufacturer has ever applied for. They can let us know what kind of equipment they need, whether it's their first CNC machine, an automatic welder, or any other step that they need to improve or scale up or take in-house. They apply to us for funding and have a really high success rate to keep doing that work. We also have an entire grant called M2I2 that's aimed at supporting pilot scale manufacturing for brand new, really innovative products, because we want that manufacturing to happen here in Massachusetts. Finally, we invest very heavily in workforce development because we know this is the #1 issue manufacturers face. And so we fund all kinds of different programs across the state to meet different manufacturing workforce needs. The Center for Advanced Manufacturing, we recently were funded by the Department of Defense to run a program called MassBridge. The idea behind this program is that there are lots of workforce training providers in the state, including our community colleges, who really want to meet the needs of industry. But there's this gap between what they're teaching and what they see industry need, but they don't know exactly how to meet those requirements. And then on the other side, our industry is always telling us that they have these open positions, they really need to hire, and they also need to know that folks coming out of training programs have the skills that they require. And so the work we did under MassBridge was to bridge that gap by focusing not on the curriculum, not how do we teach someone what lean manufacturing is, not the philosophy of teaching and the different approaches we can take, but on the skills. That's what industry cares about. They care about knowing that someone knows how to implement lean manufacturing processes, right? It doesn't really matter how they got there. And so by focusing on the skills-based curriculum, we were able to bring community colleges across the state to the table and say, keep your curricula, keep your teaching, keep what makes your school so individual and special, but let's focus to make sure that every graduate from any state in the school that says that someone knows lean manufacturing, we're all converged on that idea. And so a manufacturer can hire from any community college and make sure that they're getting the same level of competency no matter where they go. Manufacturers are looking for talent that is really equipped to meet the changing moment. So there are certain skills. The CNC machining is a massive deficit in the ecosystem. Welding, whether robotic or manual welding, is something that's been in a huge deficit. Working with digitized systems, working with automation, that kind of exposure is invaluable. The concepts of lean manufacturing and having a really well-characterized and efficient process, that is something that we hear about all the time for our manufacturers. But there's also these other skills, right? Basic math skills is important. How do you handle data? Also, the soft skills of how do you work in a workplace, right? How do you manage communication with your boss and with other teams? What do you do when an issue comes up? Do you know how to troubleshoot? Those are some skills that are really core to manufacturing. And so rather than it focusing on, we got to get every student in our community colleges trained on the most recent, most expensive unit, we need them to have some underlying ability to think about these problems. We at MassTech partner with manufacturers all the time. I meet all day, every day with manufacturers. We go to their floors all the time. We think about what are their needs and how can we use taxpayer dollars in the most efficient way possible to get them the resources that are going to get them to go the farthest. But we also know that we can only do so much. We can only invest so many projects in the state. But we want to make sure that this ecosystem is as connected as possible, because what we might not be able to do at the state level, there could be federal opportunities, there could be local opportunities, and there could be opportunities for folks, universities, for instance, to collaborate with a startup and with an SME who's looking to up their efficiency. And so we are always in attendance at events like this, at SME, at East Tech, to think about who are we not reaching yet? How do we get out there? We have 6,000 unique manufacturers in the state of Massachusetts, and we need to meet as many of them as possible so that we can help them and help them grow. As a state economic development agency, we are in some sense competing against other states. Every state in this country wants to bring manufacturing back to their state. They want to help grow manufacturing where they are. And it can be viewed as a zero-sum game, right? If this company settles in New Hampshire, not in Massachusetts, New Hampshire gets those jobs and Massachusetts doesn't. But in reality, there is so much opportunity for collaboration and cooperation between the states. The New England and Northeast states, our institutions meet all the time. We come from different parts of our governments and nonprofits and have different angles on what we're trying to support and what are our priority sectors within manufacturing. But there are so many different informal and formal mechanisms for us to connect to each other. We collaborate quite a bit on these workforce development issues, because you know what a resident of Southern New Hampshire doesn't care about is whether they get a job in Northern Massachusetts or Southern New Hampshire, right? That's not part of the worldview of a person getting a job, especially in New England, where our states are tiny and we're crossing borders all the time. So we collaborate as much as we can to share learnings and to have our dollars each go further.